In this video, key roles in your project team. In this video, you will learn the key project roles in a typical SAP project delivery team and their main responsibilities. The video is divided into the following topics: how to determine the roles required for your project, what are the key roles in an SAP project team, what are the main responsibilities of each role, and how are the project roles interlinked with other stakeholders. So let's have a look first how you determine the roles required for your project. So as it says here, roles are not an end in itself. They arise from work packages and deliverables. And they evolve over the life cycle of the project. As you remember the chart earlier on with the cost and the staffing level. So in the beginning you have few staffs. The team is then built up to a peak during business blueprint realization, and then you go into the final preparation and you go live, whereas you scale down the team again. So the project role evolves over the phase of the project. What you need in the beginning, you might not need in the end. So you could say and summarize this into work that needs to be done. That is the starting point. You need to define what are the work that needs to be done. That leads to the second part, which is the skills required. So you have not just technical skills to consider, but also essential or fundamental skills that you want your team to possess. Now, it's often a misconception that the focus should be on a specific experience or technical skill, functional or technical skills or capability, and then you forget the essential skills, and what you end up is sometimes having technical, very capable people, but they're unable to communicate, to get the buy-in, to get the information in and output they need from other users on the project, or they get disconnected in the harmony of the team. So we really need to look at the essential skills and the technical skills. How do you want the interlink between your different members? And that brings us to the last part, which is the organizational structure. So if you have a team lead role or higher, naturally you want to look here. Essential skills, leadership skills is important. Whereas if you have project members that they need to be very technical, proficient in order to do the task. So you need to look into or take into consideration, after you get the scope, the deliverables, what skills do I need, and do I need focus on specific skills if I plan to put that person as a team lead, or is it just purely the technical or functional capabilities of the person? And remember, not two projects are identical. It all depends on the scope, and it comes back to over here, work packages, deliverables. So you cannot take a template from another project and say this work can be done with one functional consultant in module X. You need to really look at what is the work first. Otherwise, you end up underestimating or overestimating. And if you don't look into the essential skills, you end up having a team that is very capable, but it's not really performing or getting things done because the harmony or the way the team works together is disconnected because of a lack of essential or foundation skills. So this is the first step to take. Now let's look at some of the key roles in a traditional SAP project team. So we have a project sponsor, no surprise there. He or she is the one who owns the project into the organization, and the one who has the authority to approve, make whatever executive decisions, as well as she is normally chairing the steering committee. Then you have a number of, you can say, management level or key roles that drive specific tasks. So you have the project manager. On last project, you might even have a program manager on top. And then you have, depending on the size of the project, a number of functional or sub-track leads. And how many you need, if you need education and change manager as one or two person, or if the integration and the data manager can be the same, that's really up to the size and the scope of your project. But you will need a layer of trusted sub-track leads or track leads for your project, and they should all report to the project manager. Then you need the ground staff. You need all the consultants that are going to provide or work in the team under the leadership of your team leads. And on top of that, they will require, or not on top of that, but they will require input and integration with business users. So you need to nominate a number of people from the business organization who will either join part-time or at least provide input to the project. And that's testers, it's business users, data assistants, change agents, help drive the change management, and then of course all the end users who will be using the system. So that's kind of like the landscape of the project. But then you can also, in some projects, you might have vendors, external vendors, delivering software services, depending on what the project is, and you might have external independent advisors that provide advice or review, compliance checks, whatever it might be. And especially if you have large projects where you put all your faith in perhaps one big integration partner who will be the main vendor, you might have an independent advisor who joins in the selection of the vendor, but also later on the measurements of the performance of that vendor. So this is the full picture of the roles or a holistic view of the roles that you should expect to have somehow either as independent persons or integrated in your project team. And if we just drill down into some of the roles and the responsibilities. So the project sponsor, normally this is assigned, normally senior executive to oversee the project without really getting into the details. And the key responsibility of the project sponsor is to keep the project manager informed of any information coming from the top, from the executive team, if any impact that could potentially happen to the project. It might not be to the project itself, it might be to some prerequisites or to strategic change in the organization. Then it's also to put the name to and help with the communication of the project. Have the executive support through the sponsor. Offer advice, but more important, make decisions. And in case you need budget or other allocations to your project, then he or she will be the one, it will be the sponsor who put forward and support such request. Normally the sponsor chairs the steering committee, and normally the project sponsor also read, understand and sign off project documents. They might delegate the detailed review to an advisor or to other members that will do the detailed review, and then they will get a summary and sign off, depending on how much hands-on the project sponsor and your project are. The project sponsor is escalation route for issues and problems that cannot be resolved within the project team. So the project manager can escalate to the project sponsor. And basically that anything else or any other task where the project sponsor can help with and support, the project manager of course can request that. But as I said here, within reason. I mean, the project sponsor is normally a senior executive and therefore will have limited technical capabilities, but and time, so it has to be managed. And remember, the project sponsor is not just writing the checks, which we just been through in the responsibility list here. If the project sponsor is just writing the checks and only involved when the check needs to be written, or just receive the report, then you will have set up your project for failure, because then you will be disconnected. You will not have the close relationship with the stakeholder project sponsor as you need. And remember, the project manager of the future, you are going to deliver value, manage value, realize value. You really need to have a close relationship with your project sponsor, and the project sponsor needs to be engaged. If the project sponsor is not engaged or not interested in the project manager might need to escalate this above the project sponsor, because then you are most likely set up for failure. And it might be better to stop the project, reorganize, appoint another sponsor, another ownership of the project. It's a difficult situation, but it's a situation, if you as a project manager don't say stop, you will get in a lot of trouble, and it will be very difficult for you to achieve a successful project. Moving on to the project manager. So firstly, let's just put in the roles of the program manager and the project manager. So on a small project, the project manager is king. On a larger project where you might have a subset of projects all sharing the same strategic initiative, you might have sub-project managers responsible for each area. Either way, the project manager is responsible for accomplishing the project objective, and this is through managing of the triple or quadruple constraint, depending on if you have the value dimension in there, and make sure that the project deliverables are completed, managed, controlled, and so on. Traditional project manager role. Provide leadership to the team or the team of track leads, but leadership is very important coming from the project manager, and in this scenario over here, the program manager, of course, needs to get involved in that. Ensure communication, controlling, and status reporting to the project stakeholders. That is the project manager's duty, and in this case, you might need a consolidated report done by the program manager that will then be cascaded up. But the input and the details should be known, controlled, managed by the project manager. If we look one level deeper, so the track leads, you need nominated leads for specific sub-project deliverables and objectives, and how many you need and if you can combine some is really up to the scope of the project. I've seen a number of times that education and change are combined because it's two roles that is some of the similar skill sets, as well as it's two roles which is possible to do in one person, as the main activities happens not overlapping. But it can also be integration manager and the technical manager, solution manager, and quality manager is one person. It really depends how complex your project is. But the main responsibilities that should be known and clear to this level of roles is that they are responsible for accomplishing the objectives assigned to their subtrack under their responsibility and leadership. And they need to provide leadership to their team. They need to provide leadership in the management team and be part of that, actively involved and engaged in the project success. They cannot look isolated on their area of responsibility, but they need to provide leadership across that. Again, on this level, everyone on this chart should have KPIs set up, key performance indicators that they are being measured against during the project and after the project, so that there is 100% commitment. For more information, see the job description worksheets, which is available for download for each role, or visit the forum and ask your questions, and we will be happy to clarify and elaborate. Just another view of the different team leads or track leads here. So we just try to reorganize the pictures from before so you can see how it all fits together. So you have the education manager has the education consultant, and it will be responsible for educating end users. Solution manager is business user, business representative, which will work with the consultants to provide the design, sign off the design, so on. Test manager will have a test team on large project and nominated testers. Now, this could be the same person, there's no problem in that. And it often is. Depends on how big the project is and what skills you need. Same for the change consultants. They'll have change agents, data assistants reporting to the data analyst and the data manager. So all the yellow ones is basically from the business organization, assigned part-time or just get involved with input. If we go and have a look at how the project roles are interlinked, we use the charts from the PMI book, and before we looked at the project manager being the central component with the project sponsor up here, and all of the other roles you will see here in the box of the project team. They're part of the project team, and all the yellow, the business users, you will see on this part here, they're outside providing input, getting involved, 2 ways, part-time or just providing input. And if you have project advisors, program managers, other vendors, you will see them in this group here. So basically the key is the project team and the close relationship there needs to be between the project manager and the sponsor. Okay, with that, let's do a summary, and now after completing this video, you should have a good understanding of some of the key roles and some of the key roles in the typical SAP project delivery team, some of the responsibilities for the top roles. And I deliberately focus on only the sponsor, the project manager, and the track leads, because this is training for the project manager. If you have questions for how to define the role and the organization for your project, then contact us in the forum. We'll be happy to elaborate. You can also download all the roles and the responsibility sheets which we have on the website. Thank you.